Looking to sound like you know what's going on in the world? Social strategy, comedy, and other funny stuff? Well, join the club and settle in for the Jeff Dwoskin Show. It's not the podcast we deserve, but the podcast we all need, with your host, Jeff Dwoskin.
All right, Skip. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, as always. This is episode 13 of the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Lucky episode 13. And we are lucky to have Anthony Carbone with us. That's right, the executive producer of the hit Netflix game show Floor is Lava is with us, and we'll be talking to him a little bit later. But right now, a quick word from the street. The July 4th weekend, I, with my family, very safely, masks, social distancing, all that, we traveled up north Michigan to Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island is a beautiful, beautiful place, but here's where it gets interesting. What was happening July 4th weekend? National bowling competition? No, if you guessed bowling, you were wrong. National croquet? You would be wrong. Wrong if you guessed croquet. Why would you guess croquet? National hopscotch? No. Why would I spend time with national hopscotch? Come on. You guys aren't even trying. You're not even trying. The answer is, over July 4th weekend, I was front row to the 2020 Stone Skipping Championship. That's right. If you had guessed Stone Skipping Championship, give yourselves a high five right now, because you're the coolest. You guessed it. That's where I was. Front and center on ESPN 3. 1 passed on it. 2 passed on it. 3 grabbed it. ESPN 3 grabbed it. Didn't make it all the way to the Ocho. Nope. Didn't make it to the Ocho. Stone skipping is on ESPN 3 because it's the real deal. Let me tell you, it was a nail biter as far as stone skipping competitions go. Both the top contenders, Kurt Steiner and Jeff McNutty, that's right, his name is Jeff McNutty, and Kurt Steiner both stone skipped 20 times. They tied. But here's the thing. You can't tie. In stone skipping, there is only one winner. You probably knew that, but I needed to make it abundantly clear. So what did they do? They went back to their second best skip. And you know who won? Kurt Mountain Man Steiner. That's right. His nickname is Mountain Man, not Pebble Man, which you would probably think, but it's Mountain Man. He won because he had 19 as his second best, and Jeff McNutty had only 18. I know. It's insane to lose by just 1 at that level of high, intense stone skipping. But there I was, there we were, there it was, on gorgeous Mackinac Island. And that's the sporting report. Boom, 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 boom. And now, a word from our sponsor, Stones. Yeah, the things on the ground that you just walk over. Did you know that if you picked us up and threw us just right, you could become a world champion skipper? That's right. That's all you got to do. Have water, stone, throw, skip, 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 skip. And it's all you. The glory awaits you. Pick up a stone today. All right. We'll definitely support all our sponsors every week. You know, they're the ones that keep the lights on, make the Jeff Dwoskin Show possible. All right. Well, I wanted to do a social media tip. Anyway, so here we are with the social media tips. The one I wanted to talk about this week, I usually do Twitter, but I wanted to talk about Facebook because Facebook's getting kind of lit lately with all the politics and stuff. And I just want everyone to know, instead of getting into a big fight on Facebook, there's like a snooze 30-day button, and you can just snooze the people annoying you. That gives you time to not unfriend them and kind of just relax. So that's it. Just snooze. Don't lose. And that was Jeff's social media tip. All right. Well, we do have a great guest for you this week. Anthony Carbone, executive producer of Floor is Lava. He's done lots of other great stuff. I'm going to let you just sit back and enjoy this conversation with Anthony. Here comes the interview. All right. We are here with Anthony Carbone, Emmy Award winner. He's been on TV making a difference for over 20 years as an executive producer and showrunner. Most recently, an amazing show on Netflix, Floor is Lava, amongst other shows, Tough as Nails on CBS. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited too. This is a result of a different episode we did. We were talking about stuff to stream. Jeff Dwoskin Show superfan and Floor is Lava fan Paul Bakshal tweeted at both of us.
Yeah.
And here we are, the magic of Twitter.
It's my favorite thing about Twitter. It's just like you can connect with random people all over the place.
Oh yeah, I've connected with like all these people, and then I go to meet them, and then they're like, or they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Jeff Dwoskin, yeah, we're Twitter friends." It's like, and then it's just crazy the world that we live in terms of the connections now that we make, even more so now with the whole COVID thing. So when Paul connected us, it was primarily before Floor is Lava, which is a new game show streaming on Netflix right now.
Yep.
Which and I think I told you this, my daughter had just insisted we watch days prior. Like she was obsessed with the show. She loved the show.
It seems like kids are the thing that are pointing their parents to it oftentimes. You know, kids and then stoners. Kids and stoners are the two things that that's our wheelhouse.
Do you want to explain the show and kind of how you came up with it and like
Sure. Yeah, it's a very simple concept. I mean, Floor is Lava is a kind of universal game that we played as children, which is don't touch the ground. People play various versions. Obviously, like some people play, I've heard all sorts of versions. People are like, there's crocodiles or whatever it is, quicksand. But, Floor is Lava, don't touch the ground. So our version is giant rooms full of quote-unquote lava, which is our own goopy concoction, that teams of 3 people try to make their way across. It's very comedic, very simple. Make it across, you get a point. Team with the most points wins, and that's it. And then so these big rooms get across the rooms. That's it in a nutshell.
So if you haven't seen it, which definitely stop what you're doing right now and go watch it. But like the idea is like it's set up like you're in the basement, and it's all lava, and you have to like jump. If you think it's like being like in a live action Dora the Explorer video game, just being in a video game.
It's a video game in many ways. Yeah, that's kind of what we're going for.
Where do you get the people with the personalities? I mean, like, I mean, it's like it's
I live in
all.
Los.
No, I mean it's all. I mean, it's like these people are like it. I mean, that's part. It's like. So fun to watch.
Yeah, what's great about the show is, so it's like people have to jump, swing, do all sorts of things to get through the room. What's great about it is, our whole goal was not make it, we don't want Ninja Warrior people. We don't want it to be like, because those shows you can only cast from a certain pool, right? Because it's people who are athletic or whatever, Titan Games, those type of things. What's great about Floor is Lava is we wanted to make it almost universal. Anyone could do it. And so, which means you have a wide pool to cast from. So we could cast any age. We had people from 18 up to someone over 60. We live in LA. There's a lot of eccentric people out here. And we had a great casting company that cast a wide net and found amazing people.
Do they practice, or is it like the first time they see it? That's the first time they see it.
That's the first time they see it. They're given a little bit of insight, very barely any insight of what's going to happen. Basically, push, pull, tug, everything that's there, like interact with. But when they walk into that room, that's the first time they see that room. They see the lava. They see everything.
It's so funny. It's just so. Do they have to go through acting classes or anything like that? Or
no. I mean, we like my whole thing is whenever we get a new cast in, I always prep the cast. I'm always like, hey, how you doing? I'm the showrunner. My whole thing is like, you were cast in the show because we saw something in you that was funny, interesting, whatever. Be yourself. Be yourselves at a party is what I usually say. Be yourselves at a party. You're on a little bit, but you are yourself. We don't want you to be some sort of like, we didn't ask you to be like, act like this. Like, we saw something in you, so be yourself.
I get that.
Yeah.
Doing stand-up comedy, my brother always says, on stage Jeff. He always says, who I'd love to be friends with? on stage, Jeff.
Exactly. You're turning on to a degree, but it's still you.
Right. Okay, so that's awesome. And then I'm curious, like, what does an executive producer do or a showrunner do? Like, what does that mean?
It all varies. I mean, if you look at credits, there's always a lot of like executive producers. It's like and so like the way I came to the show is it was created by two people at a smaller company who had never really done anything of this ilk, like challenge competition stuff. And Netflix was like, you need to partner up with someone who can actually, like has experience with this. And I've had experience with this. I've done Fear Factor way in the past. I did a little Wipeout. I've done tons of challenge shows, competition shows. And it's a weird skill set to have where it's like, people bounce it off stiff and swinging. As the showrunner, exec producer, my role was everything top to tail, right? So they had an idea. It had to kind of be, like we pitched the format to Netflix, had to kind of shape it for what is actually producible. You're hiring all the department heads, hiring all the people in charge of who's your director, who's running challenges. And then all of a sudden it's like all these, things are coming to you. Oh, these are what the challenges are. What do they look like? You're just being like, that's great. Let's do this. And then on top of that is, you're dealing with the network and making sure all they're being taken care of and they're happy with what's going on. Then that's pre-production. And then you go into production. And then at production time, you're just like putting out fires, right? You're shooting the show. You have a plan of action. But really, it's putting out fires and being like, what the hell are we going to do? This is not working or whatever. These contestants are... And then, so that's just the day of shooting. And also making sure you have all the materials you need for post. Then you go into post-production, and then it's like all the editors, what's the story? Who's doing all the writing? Like, what can we fix? What can we not? Like, what's the cuts look like, etc. And the whole time also dealing with a political strata, because it's like making sure the network is happy, making sure their notes are being attended to, but also trying to make the show what you want it to be.
That's awesome. It's so cool. It's so cool.
It's a fun job.
How do you get through the process? So like you have 3 players, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like there was pastures or there was families, like some kind of comic triplets,
flight attendants. Yeah.
Sorry, so some kind of like where they're all connected in some way or have some good
group dynamics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you figure out like 3 was the right number versus like $10,000 is the right is what gets people excited.
Right.
Like how do you like figure like at one point was there like we tried it with 4 people and it was just like no it's like
it comes to like experience to a degree, but like it's a weird 3 people is kind of an anomaly. There's not a lot of shows that have 3 people. Our theory was I did a lot of small group communication classes in college, I remember, and it was always like group dynamic shifts, right? 2 people, someone's in charge, and then someone is, subservient. Like, there's always going to be 2 people, someone's always going to be the leader, and someone's always going to be the follower. And then with 3 people, it's always like, well, someone's a leader, someone's a follower, and someone's an outlier. So we were like, well, that might be a good group dynamic. We want the rooms to be big. Let's try it. To be frank, like it's kind of rolling the dice on the first season of a show. Oftentimes you're trying things and you're like, oh, hopefully this fucking works because we don't. Sorry for swearing. I don't know how.
No, you're fine.
We don't get to make pilots on these shows because they're very expensive to build these sets and stuff like that. So the first season is kind of its pilot. So we kind of use our best experiences being like, 3 would be interesting because someone might be a leader, but someone might be an outlier. In a group dynamic, there might be like arguments or like working together. Also, on top of that, we wanted people to fall, and we thought 4 people was just too many. But 3 people, like if you lose someone, you can still make it across the room. It just gives you more opportunity for falls, but more opportunities for people working together.
And there's some good falls. There's some good face plants, and there's like, it has a little bit of Wipeout in there. It's like
sure, yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, all my challenge team and my EIC, my executive in charge of production, who deal with the budget, all come from Wipeout. That's their experience, and I'd known them from the past from Wipeout, and so they brought their expertise to bear on Floor is Lava.
All right, so the lava. Okay,
yes.
I get anxiety every time I watch them fall in and disappear.
A lot of people, a lot of parents have had to explain to their children, like, no, it's just a TV show. Everyone's fine.
Where are they going? Do they like fall in? Like
that we have been sworn to secrecy. There are certain things Netflix has asked us not to discuss. I will say everyone's fine.
Oh yeah, they come back at the end.
They're all alive. But we walked into this. One of the first things when it was like presented to me is like we need to make sure that we sell the idea that they're falling into lava. And like most shows, they splash and swim away, and we're like they're falling into lava. We want the stakes to feel actual to a degree. So while Netflix would never, if you watch all 10 episodes, we never use the word die because we're not allowed to use the fact that anyone died. But they allowed us to let people just disappear, which was kind of the charm of it. It'd be like, and we told everyone, like, we didn't tell them to like act or sell anything or whatever, but we're like, you're falling into lava. When you're falling into lava, you're falling into lava. So, and I don't think it was hard for them to imagine it once they were in the room because it felt so alive.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The lava is not like just there's red water. I mean, this thing is like bubbling.
It's a mixture. It's a scientific little mixture. We did a lot of experimentation to find out the right balance of the ingredients that are in it. It's a little slippery, slimy. I always say it's the closest to Panda Express orange chicken. Is what I always say it's the closest to. That sauce. That's what it's closest to. And then it had bubblers and burpers, which are things that bubble, and we could control them. We had a guy who that was literally his job, and like my challenge head would be like, burp it now, and and we would like try to like screw with them while they're on the set to like make it splash stuff and make stuff slippery and stuff like that. But it's like it took us a while to find out the right thickness, right color, the right viscosity of the whole thing, because also this was a substance that we needed to have trucked in, be stored, be pumped in pipes. We had to create a whole plumbing system. It has to be emptied out, tank, like all the stuff to like rechange things. So it was a bit of a, it took a while to figure out.
Whatever you did, it looks great.
It's pretty good, right?
I know. Did anyone just like freak out and just couldn't do it? I mean, like when you had to were there any contestants that you just couldn't even put on? I mean,
no one ever freaked out to that degree. But I will say, I mean, people were pretty stunned by its magnitude, if you will, because they didn't know what happened when they fell either. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of like, this is what's going to happen. I had some control over the intercom. There was an intercom system, so I was in like Video Village, and I could like talk to the contestants and be like, to like allay their fears or be like, get moving, or whatever we wanted to say to them. They were freaked out, but no one ever, gave up, which I've been on lots of shows where people have been like, I'm not doing that. This, everyone did.
Well, I feel like when you watch and you're like, just jump. But when you're there and like, if you slip, your brain is not letting you jump. I mean, it's like, right. You know what I mean? It's like, I have to jump into this thing. And if I don't, I'm going to go head first into this other thing. Yeah. It's like, it's a real mind game.
And it's noisy. I mean, it's noisy as hell because there's all this lava bubbling around. And then it's slippery because the substance itself has some slipperiness, and it's just like, and it's a little smelly too, I'm not gonna lie. so like it is a bit freaky. You're just like, all right, I don't know how I'm gonna make that, because like we're not accustomed, especially as adults, just jumping like distances for the hell of it,
Just to paint the picture for those of you who haven't seen it, it's like an element. You walk into a room, and then like one part there's this thing you jump on, and then you grab this painting and it becomes a bridge, and it's like it's a real video game-ish type thing. How do you design that? And then how do you test it to make sure that it actually works for like normal people, like what you said is the target, so that any skill level?
It's complicated. So we again, it's a weird skill set that we just know people who have this weird skill set because for decades they've been doing these shows like Wipeout and whatnot. And so basically what happens first is, we design a room, and we get all the approvals and whatnot, because all this stuff needs to be built, sculpted, painted. Like there are hundreds of people working the show where we had a whole mill where people were just sawing things all the time. We had a sculpting department. We had like a painting department, like all these different departments. But so once the blueprint is approved of what the room is, and they're taping it out, right? They'll be like, in a regular room, and they'll just like put tape on and do the measurements and be like, can I jump from this to this? Yeah, that kind of works, okay. So then we implement the building of everything. Once everything's built, we had a pool in the back that they could like try items individually to figure out like certain things, like how distance or, we could tilt things more or less. And then it's put in a tank. And here's the hard part is like we don't have a lot of time, so we put it in the tank and we can adjust things a little bit here and there. It is kind of put them in the tank, practice it a bit, be like, I don't think this is working, let's move this here. We bring in regular people who've never seen it before, testers, to test it, and then we kind of make our guesstimate based on that. And it's because you want it to be doable, but you want people to fall. So it's this weird skill set where you're like, is this going to work? You know, let's remove that crate because that makes it too easy, but now is it too hard? I don't know. Sometimes you're just like hoping it's going to work. So there's a lot of testing, but it's a lot of using a little bit of your expertise in the past and being like, this should work. This will work, you know. And they're great at it. My challenge team, they're just great at it. So
yeah, no, I mean, the sets are amazing. There's nothing funnier than people
hitting stuff.
smashing their face. It's just nothing.
I 100%. I mean, when you're shooting it, all you do is laugh. And like, listen, like no one got hurt. Everyone is safe, which is that's the other thing. Like when you're testing these things, you need to make sure it's lock solid safe. We never want anyone to get hurt. But it is so funny to watch people hit things, like always, like universal.
To this day, when I think about my young daughter walking into one of those glass doors. we were at a California pizza kitchen, and she just like boom, and
that's
it's like
hysterical.
And because it's funny because they
that
don't
noise,
know it, right?
Yeah,
and the fact that they didn't see it coming, and it was like, oh my god, it's
a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And there's plenty. The Wipeout shows like Wipeout is like it's hilarious to watch like them get hit by a giant thing and just go flying.
Yeah, just punch them in the face all of a sudden. Yeah.
You did American Gladiators.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. Yes. 2000 and like something. I was a young pup.
Those are like, to me, like though that is set up and it's completely mentally different. Like you're watching that and you're like, you want them to succeed. Like when they fall, it's like, or like where they slip it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah. It's every show has its different, like this show clearly was, have people, attempt a room and you want most people to fall, but you want some victories. Yeah. Some other shows are like, you want people to look like heroes,
Yeah.
And so how do you establish a challenge that they can look heroic, but still seem challenging? Yeah. So again, it's a weird skill set to have, but somehow I have it at this point.
So when do you find out about season 2, or did you already, Florid's Lava?
No, I mean, the interesting thing about Netflix is they don't really work at that pace. They're not like, this is a success, let's make 1,000 more of them. They're like this weird, like, streaming service that has I always liken them to like working at a Las Vegas buffet. Like we're just at a big fancy buffet and we all get to make our little food, but like they have a lot of food always coming. So when you run out of crab legs, they're like, but we got prime rib coming, so we can hold on the crab legs. Hopefully soon. I have a call with them next week, I believe, to go over 30-day numbers. All indication is that it's been very, very successful, at least getting some eyeballs. Netflix is very big on also people watching the entire series, which on a show like ours is difficult. It's 10 episodes, it's standalone. It's a fun show, but like, is everyone going to be like, I'm watching all 10 episodes? It's not like Stranger Things where you have to, like, you have to watch all 10 episodes, So there's like, they have different things to look at when they decide, but they have all the information. They'll be like, oh, people watched this many episodes and turned it off here and fast forwarded here. So we'll know soon enough. It's obviously we're in a weird world as well, where they'll be like, okay, if we make more, how do we make more? Because with how production is in a post-COVID world, we don't know quite yet. Everyone's attempting it. Like everyone's starting to dip their toes in, but hopefully soon, and we can just like go, and do something.
Your structure though may work to the benefit of like a stay-at-home thing, because it's meant to be 3 people who know each other, not strangers.
Precisely.
So if they've already been staying at home together, then that could be it. But now explaining that to the people at home so that they don't freak out, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's that whole thing where people see
like,
things.
what's going on? Yeah, you're like, why are they touching?
Yeah,
why are they hugging?
You can't do that. This was shot 20 years ago. Oh, okay.
I mean, the bigger thing is not even the shooting; it's kind of the crew. It's like how do you set up these little fiefdoms where like the people building can get it to the sculptors, can get it to the painters, but no one's interacting. That's what everyone's setting up right now. They're figuring out protocols for that. So
it's interesting. You said like, do they watch the whole series and Netflix watches that? Because it made me think of something. I feel like there's like 2 kinds of streaming shows. There's Stranger Things, like you said, or Tiger King, where you're like you watch it and then they go at the very end, they go, oh my god, and they just hook you, right? And you have to watch that next episode. But then, like, to me, like there is series like Florid's Lava, which is like that filler series, right? Where it's like you watching Tiger King, but you need a break, and so you watch a couple episodes of Florid's Lava or a show like that where you don't need it. Can be standalone, like. Black Mirror is kind of like that. I mean, they don't rely on each other, right? So it's like a show where you can kind of squeeze in between. It's a good in between all the other shows, which is how people do it anyway now.
I think a kid audience also helps because kids tend to binge things and watch everything and rewatch things like they, because kids are kids. Like my kid can rewatch things a million times, so like that helps us as well. We've had a lot of eyeballs on the thing. It's been amazing how it's been everywhere, and people like kids are building their own courses in their backyards and like just having fun.
That's awesome. That's how you know it's a success.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you know.
Precisely, exactly.
You also have another show, Tough as Nails, right now?
Yes. Yeah, that's a CBS series. It's been on for 2 weeks now. It's on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on CBS, which is fun. It's a different type of show. It's like a challenge arced competition show. I've done a lot of like game showy things. Then I've done like arced competition. Arced competition means like, someone's going to win after 10 episodes, like Survivor, like Amazing Race type thing. And that's about like blue collar workers like competing to who's like the toughest. It's pretty fun. And then I also like prior to this did Encore on Disney Plus, which is more of a musical theater doc thing. Like I try to diversify what I do all the time. Like it's just fun to like try to dabble, like not only do game shows, not only do challenge stuff, but sometimes do like more feel good stuff and those type of things.
I saw the first episode of Encore. I saw it legit, and not because we were talking.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
Annie.
Yeah, Annie. Yeah.
With Kristen Bell. So
Bell.
So here's the point. So you also did King of the Nerds.
I did.
A little bit ago.
Way back. Yeah.
That's with Curtis Armstrong and Robert Carradine. I saw that you had a picture with Curtis.
Yes.
He hooked you up with Lin-Manuel. That's pretty.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
We went to see Hamilton and got to hang out with Lin-Manuel afterwards. It was pretty cool.
That is very cool. So here's the connection. The connection is Curtis is from Detroit. Kristen's from Huntington Woods, which is a suburb or just outside of Detroit. So you've worked with many, many Michigan people.
Well, I lived in Grand Rapids, and home of President Ford, man. Yeah. I lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan for 6 years up to 7th grade, and I always, Michigan has a warm place in my heart for me. A lot of friends still there, and I always loved going to. I still am a big fan of U of M. It's like I'm always like, let's go blue. That's like
go blue, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember when the Tigers won in '84. I was a little kid, but that was like the best, man. Like that was awesome.
Totally bad.
Yeah. But Curtis is great. He's such a Michigan man, like Detroit guy. Like he's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. And Kristen Bell's also big with Frozen.
Yeah, oh yeah. She's gigantic. But yeah, no, to me I've been lucky that I just get to do shows that are fairly big. I always say like I've done every type of show except women and wine and men like digging for oil. Like those are, or catching fish. Like those are the two shows I haven't done, and I don't want to do because I don't like being like I don't want to be in a boat. Like no, thank you.
Chart your own path, Anthony.
Exactly.
So, okay. Besides Floor is Lava, besides Tough as Nails, which everyone should watch.
Sure, it's a great show. It's really heartfelt, that one.
What are like the top 5 Anthony Carbone must-stream shows that you've done?
Well, one of my favorite shows is King of the Nerds. Like I will say, like for anyone who hasn't seen it, we did 3 seasons of it. It is probably one of the closest shows to my heart. Like everyone I was making, it was kind of nerdy. I was kind of nerdy as a kid. What I loved most about it though was it's like these guys, it's like 12 nerds. I can't remember exactly how many nerds is a catch-all phrase, competing to be King of the Nerds. And all the games were like, sometimes mathematical, sometimes pop culture. But what I loved about it is the contestants, usually I do a show and I'm like, we're smarter than these contestants. Don't worry, we got them. But like King of the Nerds is one of the few where like you're like, oh man, these contestants are smarter than us. Like what the hell are we gonna do? Because we had like NASA scientists and like all these interesting people on it. I love King of the Nerds. I did a show called Jamie Oliver's Food Revolution, which was Jamie Oliver's a chef, and we took over a school in West Virginia and tried to make their school lunches better and dealt with child nutrition, which was a pretty doc kind of series. That's what I won my Emmy for, and that series was just great. Season 1 of that series was amazing. Like it was just watching Jamie try to tackle what school lunch is in this country, which is kind of an abomination.
Right.
So I loved that show. I love making Fear Factor. I always enjoyed making that show. And then, it's hard for me to pick all my babies, I'm trying to remember my other shows. I've done a lot of shows. I've been lucky. I'm trying to look around.
You've done...
Well, American Gladiators, I was a lower level producer, editor. I came up as an editor, by the way. The way my path to this business is I knew how to edit, and I was editing on season 1 of Fear Factor and quickly realized I didn't like being alone. But I've always been very good at it. So what happened was people would hire me to cut their pilots and stuff. And I was like, as long as I'm in the field learning how to produce, I'll edit. So Gladiators, I was literally on the way to my wedding. We were getting married in Italy. It was 2007. The guy who was running it called me. He's like, American Gladiators is coming back. Hulk Hogan's going to be the host. He's like, but I lived in New York City at the time. And he was like, but you have to move to LA, 2 weeks after your honeymoon. And I just turned to my wife and I'm like, I'm moving to LA after. And my wife had to stay in New York. I literally, we got married, came back, did our honeymoon. 2 weeks later, I flew to LA to work on that show because I just loved it as a kid. That was just a dream.
That's awesome. Well, here, let me. I'm a celebrity. You were.
Oh, that was
celebrity.
fun.
Get out of here. You were involved with. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. Hey, everyone has some problem shows. Dancing with the Stars. What's great about Dancing with the Stars is and that's the last time I felt where the world was watching something, because it was the season with Bristol Palin. And it was just every night it was 30-something million people were watching. It's really rare now to have anything on network have any sort of impact like that. It's just not how network TV functions anymore. It's very niche, which is what's nice about Lava. Lava was the first time in a while I was just holy crap, people everywhere are watching this thing. It is infiltrated the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. So how can people find you? What's a good way to keep up with you on
what
social
is my
media?
name? What's my Twitter handle? I think my Twitter handle is Gang of Wolves 2, I believe. Is that what my Twitter handle is? I'm gonna look at it right now. Yes.
Gang of Wolves number 2,
which is a company I started with my partner a few years ago, and Floor is Lava was our first series. Regrettably, if you see the first episode, you'll see there's a memoriam for him. He passed away before we finished shooting from a battle with cancer, which sucked. So it's weird when I think about making Lava. It was a lot of fun, but there's also it has this thread of what PTSD, sadness. But he was an awesome guy who, which is the bittersweetness of its success. It's he doesn't get to do the victory lap. I mean, his family's happy, his wife is, everyone's this is awesome. We just all wish he was here to do it. But anyways, Gang of Wolves, that's a sad way of talking about my Twitter handle. Gang of Wolves 2 is my Twitter handle if anyone wants to say hi, ask me a question, say, can I be on Lava? Yeah, and then, if we get a second season, that's where I'll be announcing it at some point. And, we'll be hopefully then casting, and then I'll put in casting materials on there and people can try out. I imagine it will be much easier to cast this go around because everyone wants. I feel like I could charge people to do the show at this point.
Oh, I think you'll. My daughter wants on. She's already picked her 2 friends. So just let me know.
How old is she? We'll wait. Well, hopefully we'll be on for a while. Then
she's 20.
Oh, well, she's perfect then.
Right, exactly.
You had a kid young, man. I'm looking at you.
Yes, when I was 20, I had it.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, this is awesome. So much. All right. A lot of TV homework for the audience. Anthony, I can't thank you enough. Glad we
thanks for having
Twitter.
me. Thanks for and watch Floor is Lava. Watch stuff. If you watch Floor is Lava, you have to watch all the episodes, or Netflix gets my exec at Netflix gets very angry.
And you'll be helping Anthony get a season 2.
Exactly. Me and a lot of other people. Thank you so much. Have a good day, man.
Thanks, man. All right. How fun was that? Floor is Lava. Yeah, Anthony Carbone. And again, super thanks to Paul for hooking us up. Totally appreciate that. You're going to get a special note in the show notes. That's right, Paul. Look for that. All right. Wanted to tie in a pretty cool hashtag roundup. Check out hashtag roundup online. Those are Twitter hashtag games that I'm constantly reading on the show, and you can be part of it. Like to theme them. So there was one back in May. Hashtag if life were like a video game with Ash Games account, fun game, weekly game on the hashtag roundup. All right, so what do we got here? If life were like a video game, I would definitely have to cheat to win. All right, Sarah's a cheater. Up, down, left, right, right, left, left. Cheat codes away. That would be an easy way to get through life. I guess in golf they have mulligans. Anyway, doesn't matter. Jan, if life were like a video game, we could just plug our controller in to recharge. Wouldn't that be nice? I guess the real life version of that is a $100 massage. Daryl says, if life were like a video game, after a few years, you get sidelined for a new version. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. But it's true. It's true. Everyone's always looking for the next best thing. All right, Fletchy, if life were like a video game, loading the dishwasher would basically be like Tetris for adults. This one hit a little close to home. A little close to home for me. Oh, here's one. If life were like a video game, everyone would be eating all the time. Waka, 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 waka. That was my Pac-Man. If life were like a video game, jaywalking would come with its own jaunty tune. If life were Frogger, yes, it would be. Kristen, if life were like a video game, we'd all be overcoming obstacles and always trying to get the coins. Wait a minute. That is life. All right. All these are going to be on the @JeffDwoskin Twitter handle, so check that out. And you can follow them and retweet them and do all that good stuff. Definitely follow us at Jeff Dwoskin Show on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're in all the places. So give us a follow. And also find us on Apple. We're on iHeartRadio now and Stitcher and Spotify and Pandora. Give us a like. Subscribe to the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. And until then, we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Jeff Dwoskin Show with your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Now go repeat everything you heard and sound like a genius. Catch us online at thejeffdwoskinshow.com or follow us on Twitter @JeffDwoskinShow. And we'll see you next time.